The multiverse has been a firm fixture of superhero storytelling almost since the very beginning. Throughout their 80+ year history, both Marvel and DC Comics have frequently published tales that showcase alternate worlds, timelines, and parallel realities that often reimagine the status quo in shocking and unexpected ways. This concept was popularised in the early 1960s with The Flash of Two Worlds, a now legendary story that saw Barry Allen meet the original Flash Jay Garrick and retroactively establish the existence of Earth 2. In the decades since, Earth 2 played a significant role in many of DC's large-scale storylines. However, in July of 2012, DC drastically reimagined the Earth 2 label as part of their New 52 reboot, tasking the pair of James Robinson and Nicola Scott to modernise many of the company's Golden Age characters, reimagining them as a new generation of young heroes emerging in a world without Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman. Initially running for 32 issues and then starring in a handful of limited series, the New 52 Earth 2 is a comic that's always intrigued me, and I think is often overlooked as an exciting and unique piece of this era of DC storytelling. And so, in this video, I want to explain the history behind DC's Earth 2, discuss its place within DC's multiverse, and how writers like James Robinson, Tom Taylor, Marguerite Bennett, and Daniel Wilson transform this ode to DC's Golden Age into an often underappreciated modernization of some of the company's oldest and most important characters. Before we continue though, just a quick reminder to leave a like on this video if you enjoy it, and subscribe to Owen Likes Comics so you don't miss out on any future videos. To understand the significance behind the New 52 Earth 2 comics, it's first important to overview the history of Earth 2 as a concept, as well as the various roles that it's played in DC storytelling. The DC universe as we know it came into existence in 1938 in the pages of Action Comics #1, an issue that not only saw the debut of Superman, but the entire superhero genre as we know it today. Almost immediately, Action Comics became a tremendous success, and as a result, the comics publisher National Allied Publications capitalised on it by releasing a slew of new ongoing series that featured a wide array of costume crime fighters. National then consolidated their roster of superheroes into one cohesive universe in the pages of All-Star Comics #3 from 1940, with the creation of the Justice Society of America, a team that featured heroes from across all of National's various titles. This primarily remained the state of play until the early 1950s, when, due to a declining interest in superhero comics and the beginning of intense scrutiny against the genre from figures such as Frederick Wertham, many of National's superheroes began to disappear. In 1956 though, something changed, when in the pages of Showcase issue 4, Robert Kanigher and Carmine Infantino reintroduced the Flash. However, instead of reviving the original iteration Jay Garrick, they created an all-new version named Barry Allen. This Flash felt fresh and unique, and as readers quickly gravitated towards him, DC followed suit with a new array of costume characters. This superhero resurgence culminated in March of 1960, when in the pages of Brave and the Bold issue 28, writer Gardner Fox introduced the Justice League of America, an updated version of the classic JSA, and featured new fan favourites like Green Lantern and the Flash, alongside company stalwarts like Batman and Superman. Henceforth, by September of 1961, superheroes had formally returned to the forefront of American comics. And it's here that writer Gardner Fox sought to take this resurgence one step further, bridging the generational gap between DC's new heroes and their wartime counterparts. In the pages of The Flash issue 123, Fox and artist Carmine Infantino published The Flash of Two Worlds, a short story wherein Barry Allen accidentally travels to Earth 2 and meets that universe's version of The Flash, who is revealed to be none other than Jay Garrick. It's revealed here that the two's adventures did occur on different worlds, with Barry's Flash existing on Earth 1, while Jay and his generation of heroes residing on Earth 2. This concept was expanded upon in Justice League of America number 21 from 1963, where the JLA team up with the Justice Society to stop a group of villains who escape from Earth 2. This issue marked a long-running friendship between the two ensembles, as well as firmly entrenching the idea of multiple Earths as a regular fixture within DC's storytelling. This largely remained the case until 1985, when DC decided to streamline its continuity and create one singular timeline where all of their stories took place. As such, Marv Wolfman and George Perez teamed up to tell Crisis on Infinite Earths, a 12-issue limited series that followed the villainous Anti-Monitor as he destroys different realities in the multiverse, resulting in the creation of one singular Earth that all of DC's canonical stories could take place in. In the immediate aftermath of Crisis, DC reintroduced many of their most popular heroes, retelling their origins and updating them for this new generation. This even extended to the Flash series, where Wally West adopted the mantle after Barry's sacrifice during Crisis. Jay Garrick was later reintroduced as a mentor figure, now explained as an older superhero from the Second World War, with the JSA being referenced as a prior generation of heroes that preceded the likes of the Justice League. The Earth 2 heroes would mainly appear in this capacity until the new millennium, with various comics fleshing out their adventures in the 1940s and 50s, such as Len Straczewski's Justice Society run from 1992 and the JSA series that began in 1999, written by the likes of James Robinson and Jeff Johns. Although DC would largely avoid multiversal crossovers during this era, Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely did introduce a new Earth 2 in a special graphic novel released in September of 2000. Building off Morrison's acclaimed run on Justice League, this series brought back the evil crime syndicate, historically the JLA's doppelgangers from Earth 3, who now hail from an antimatter reality and seek to conquer the main Earth. This comic establishes that at least two universes exist within DC's multiverse, and left the door open for future writers to restore other aspects of the pre-Crisis continuity. Jeff Johns and Phil Jimenez expanded on this concept in late 2005 during their Infinite Crisis event, which not only served as a follow-up to the original Crisis series, but ended with the restoration of the multiverse, now consisting of 52 parallel realities. In the aftermath of Infinite Crisis, a new version of Earth 2 was introduced, with this one largely resembling the pre-Crisis iteration and home to its own version of the JSA. This version of Earth 2 though would only make a small handful of appearances, as in 2011, DC once again reset their continuity following the events of Jeff Johns and Andy Kubert's Flashpoint series. As part of the New 52, virtually every character in the DC universe was rebooted, with only small amounts of their prior history remaining in continuity. However, while many familiar and obscure characters were reset during this period, there was a notable omission from the early era of the New 52. The Justice Society and the Golden Age heroes were seemingly nowhere to be found. Instead, in May of 2012, DC launched a new ongoing series simply named Earth 2, which would reimagine many of the company's Golden Age heroes as if they had just come into existence in the 21st century. Initially written by James Robinson with art by Nicholas Scott, this series essentially served as an ultimate style relaunch for the Justice Society, modernising these long-running characters, and over the span of 32 issues, telling a story unlike anything they had experienced before. The Earth 2 series officially began in May of 2012, brought to life by the team of writer James Robinson and artist Nicholas Scott. Advertised as part of the second wave of the New 52, and featured a sleek and updated version of the Justice Society of America. In many ways, James Robinson seemed like the ideal writer to helm a project of this nature. He first rose to prominence in 1993, teaming with artist Paul Smith to tell The Golden Age. This 4-issue Elseworld series focused on DC's classic heroes adjusting to life after the Second World War and the beginning of McCarthyism. The success of the Golden Age spawned perhaps Robinson's best known work, Starman. Beginning in October of 1994, Robinson reimagined the classic Golden Age character and turned him into one of DC's most exciting and acclaimed titles, with Starman even winning an Eisner for Best Serialized Story in 1997. Then, as noted previously, Robinson was tasked with writing a new JSA series in 1999, alongside alongside co-writer David Goyer, although he only worked on 5 issues before departing, with Goyer subsequently teaming with Jeff Johns. Robinson's long history with DC's Golden Age meant that he was the perfect choice to helm this Earth 2 revival. Joining him was Nicola Scott, an artist then best known for her work on Secret Six, Birds of Prey and Teen Titans. Interestingly, Scott noted during a 2014 interview with Word Balloon that the premise of this Earth 2 comic changed quite drastically during the book's development. As she recalled,
"I was asked if I'd like to do the job in June, the year before it started, and I don't think I actually started on it until maybe January or February. When I was first asked about it, it was going to be a 1960s JSA book where the heroes were all in their 40s, and I think part of the reason why I was offered the job was because, you know, it was all about the fashions and the trends and all that kind of stuff. And they thought, well, maybe a girl would be good for that. Eventually it got to the point where the idea got bigger and they knew, you know, it turned into what it turned into."
As opposed to chronicling the JSA's adventures in the past, Robinson instead opted to do an Ultimate-style relaunch of all of these characters. However, the opening 6 issues, which make up the book's debut storyline, The Gathering, don't just focus on introducing this new updated version of the JSA, now renamed The Wonders of the World, but also tell a shocking tale about what happens to a universe when Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman are no longer there to protect it. Issue 1 served as a prologue to Robinson and Scott's main story. Taking place several years earlier, we follow Darkseid and his army as they invade Earth 2. The Wonders of the World, a team comprised of Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman, as well as Robin, Bruce and Catwoman's daughter Helena Wayne and Supergirl, all try and stop Darkseid's invasion, with the Trinity sacrificing themselves while Robin and Supergirl are sent through a boom tube to a parallel reality, where they find themselves in the Prime DC universe and later become Power Girl and Huntress. In the present day, we follow Jay Garrick, a 20-something college graduate heartbroken over a recent breakup with his girlfriend. As Jay ponders what's next, he notices a shooting star in the distance, and as he speeds towards it, he discovers the Roman god Mercury crash landing on Earth. Mercury warns Jay that ancient evil is on its way to Earth before dying, bestowing his power to Garrick and telling him to assemble a new team of heroes to defend their world. At the same time, media mogul Alan Scott travels through Beijing with his partner Sam when their train suddenly crashes. Sam is killed, but Alan is rescued by a mysterious green energy. The energy explains that it has selected Alan to be its champion, repairing his injured body and transforming his engagement ring into a power source that can wield the Earth's natural energy. With a new Flash and Green Lantern now established, Robinson and Scott quickly introduce a wide array of new heroes. Hawkgirl debuts in issue 2, depicted as a former treasure hunter who discovered an ancient artifact that granted her wings. Likewise, Terry Salone, a former hero named Mr. 8 who now works with the World Army, debuts and is confronted by Mr. Terrific, who finds himself teleported from the Prime Earth to Earth 2. The main plot of these first 6 issues conclude with Flash, Hawkgirl, Green Lantern and the Atom all teaming up to stop Solomon Grundy, who was resurrected by the Grey, a rival force to the Green that powers Alan Scott. Working together, these heroes reluctantly become the new wonders of the world, and their arrival catches the attention of the World Army, a military task force established to protect Earth following the Trinity's death. In the next run of issues, several other familiar heroes such as Dr. Fate and Captain Steel are also introduced, as well as Earth 2 versions of Mr. Miracle and Big Barda. Robinson and Scott's run builds to Steppenwolf's arrival on Earth 2 in issue 12, where he forces the New Wonders and the World Army to unite to stop his attack. With these unlikely heroes working together, Steppenwolf unleashes his hunger dogs, Bedlam, Beguiler and Brutal, to aid him in his conquest. During this time, DC also published Earth 2 Annual No. 1, a special one-shot comic that introduced a new mysterious Batman as well as Fury, the secret daughter of Wonder Woman and Steppenwolf, who initially served alongside her father. Issue 16 serves as the climax of the series so far, with the Wonders, the World Army, Mr. Terrific, Mr. Miracle, Barda, and the mysterious Batman all uniting to stop Steppenwolf and his hunger dogs. The comic concludes with the villain announcing his conquest of Earth, though revealing he plans to keep the planet for himself and not gift it to Darkseid. This revelation causes Brutal to suddenly attack his master, killing Steppenwolf before removing removing his helmet, revealing himself to be none other than Superman, now somehow alive and under Darkseid's control. This massive cliffhanger coincided with the announcement that James Robinson was leaving the Earth 2 series. While the exact details behind his departure have never officially been stated, Bleeding Cool partly attributed it to DC launching a second ongoing Earth 2 series, and either didn't ask Robinson to help write it, or future plans for the main Earth 2 title were changed as a result of its creation. Either way, Robinson was replaced as writer by Tom Taylor, who worked on Earth 2 from issue 17 to 28, and inherited the mystery of not only Superman's apparent resurrection and defection to Apocalypse, but also the looming mystery behind the new Batman. As such, issue 17 sees a subtle yet noticeable tonal shift. Whereas Robinson's tenure emphasised the likes of Alan Scott, Jay Garrick and Hawkgirl, Taylor places a greater emphasis on characters like Batman, who he reveals to be Thomas Wayne, having faked his death and is now attempting to continue his son's legacy. Red Tornado, an android programmed with the brain patterns of Lois Lane, and a new Superman named Val Zod. The New Wonders, now seemingly led by Batman, strike back against Brutal's invasion, while Red Tornado seeks to mentor Val Zod and prepare him to fight his fellow Kryptonian, in addition to trying to empathise with her former love. This results in a memorable story in issue 25, where Lois takes Brutal to Kent Farm to help him reconnect with his humanity, only for Clark to kill Jonathan Kent and pledge his unwavering alliance to Darkseid. In total, Tom Taylor wrote 12 issues of Earth 2, with his run concluding with issue 29. Taylor and Scott's arc climaxed with Val Zod fighting and defeating Brutal, who's actually revealed to be a clone of Superman and is subsequently killed by Red Tornado. Taylor's departure also coincided with Nicola Scott's exit from the title, as well as DC launching a secondary book titled Earth 2 World's End. This series was released weekly and written by the likes of Marjorie Bennett, Daniel H. Wilson and Mike Johnson. This era of the Earth 2 comic saw the introduction of even more new characters, such as Dick Grayson, Aquawoman, Red Arrow and Jimmy Olsen, as well as the return of Power Girl and Huntress to this reality. It also revealed that Terry Sloan is secretly a double agent working with Darkseid, and that Sam, Alan Scott's fiancée, was killed to cover up this secret. Meanwhile, the real Superman is found alive when the Wonders are hunting Desard, revealed to have been revived by Darkseid and drained of most of his powers to produce several clones. After briefly reuniting with Lois and Kara, Superman uses the last of his abilities to sacrifice himself to destroy Desard's parademon factory, with Power Girl later adopting his symbol and becoming Supergirl again. With the universe's stories now being split across two ongoing titles, the main Earth 2 book adopted a more episodic approach from issue 30 onwards, spotlighting the various members of the New Wonders and their ongoing heroics across the globe. However, as its sister series' name suggests, the future of Earth 2 was growing increasingly uncertain. The final issues of World's End focus on Darkseid himself attacking the planet, damaging it irreparably and forcing the heroes to evacuate and head out into the unknown. Issue 26 of Earth 2 World's End concludes with the likes of Mr. Terrific, Red Arrow, Power Girl, Huntress and Terry Sloan all fleeing Earth and jetting off into space, while the likes of Flash, Green Lantern, Val Zod and Batman stage one final attack against Darkseid. This cliffhanger ending would then lead into the next major chapter of DC's Earth 2 saga, as in April of 2015, many of the company's different realities would all converge and battle for survival. Following the conclusion of Earth 2 and World's End in June of 2015, the Wonders of the World story was seemingly left on a cliffhanger, with the planet being destroyed by Darkseid and many of the world's heroes either evacuating into space or seemingly perishing during one final showdown with Darkseid. This story would be continued in the pages of Future's End, a universe-wide weekly series that ran from May of 2014 to April of 2015 and featured a dystopian future where the refugees of Earth 2 were forced to move to the Prime DC universe. Despite Future's End seemingly teasing an inevitable showdown between the Prime Earth and Earth 2, DC instead went in a somewhat unexpected direction in the form of Convergence. To briefly explain Convergence, it was a massive summer-long crossover event that saw all of DC's ongoing titles take a 2-month hiatus, partly due to the company moving its head office from New York to California, as well as celebrating the 30th anniversary of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Earths. The main Convergence title ran for 8 issues, while the overall event also included 40 two-part tie-ins from every book in DC's line. Written primarily by the team of Jeff King, Dan Jurgens and Scott Lobdell, Convergence follows the Earth 2 heroes as they're transported to Telos, a sentient world created by Brainiac that's made up of several doomed worlds from across the multiverse. In a format not dissimilar from the 1980s Marvel event Secret Wars, Brainiac forces these realities to fight for survival. The Wonders, though, seemingly have no Earth to return to, and find themselves in the middle of this multiversal conflict. As such, Convergence follows the Wonders travelling across this makeshift planet, trying to unite its various factions. This results in several unexpected crossovers, like the Wonders meeting the post-crisis Justice League, and Thomas Wayne meeting an alternate version of his son Bruce, the latter of which actually results in Thomas being killed during a fight with several Batman villains. At the same time, we follow Dick Grayson as he forms a unique bond with Telos, who we learn was previously an ordinary person turned into this world's conduit by Brainiac. Grayson tries to convince Telos to aid him and the Wonders in saving their reality, as well as restoring all of the others that the villain has captured. At the series climax, Brainiac is forced to relent and places each reality back into the multiverse, sending each set of characters home. The Earth 2 heroes, though, remain stuck on Telos, until Alan Scott discovers he can tap into this planet's green energy and turns it from a desolate wasteland into a new prosperous Earth. Telos then transports itself across the universe, adopting the same physical space as their original planet. Now, with a new home, the heroes pledge to protect it and learn from their past mistakes, as they locate the escape pods containing their Earth survivors floating through space, while Dick Grayson, inspired by Thomas's sacrifice, adopts the mantle of Batman. The fallout of Convergence saw DC launch a brand new ongoing series in June of 2015, titled Earth 2 Society. Initially written by Daniel H. Wilson and drawn by Jorge Jimenez, the series follows on from the events of Convergence as the Wonders and the various survivors of Earth 2 try and turn this makeshift planet into their new home. The initial issues follow the likes of Flash, Green Lantern, Superman and the new Batman, all adjusting to this new world, with new versions of familiar DC locations being quickly established. However, due to this planet not containing the same natural resources as Earth, war quickly breaks out between the various settlements. This is compounded by the arrival of anarchy, who sparks civil unrest and turns the world's population against the Wonders for not saving their original home. Although Daniel Wilson wrote the first 7 issues of Earth 2 Society, he was replaced by Dan Abner as of issue 8, who would work on the book until its conclusion. Despite its promise and good intentions, Wilson's run had failed to meet fans' expectations, and as a result, Abner was tasked with revitalising the Earth 2 series and steering the book back to its initial premise that had been so fruitful during James Robinson and Nicholas Scott's era on the title. During an interview with Newsrama, Abner explains how he was approached to take over Society, alongside his vision for the series. He states,
I was asked to take on Earth 2 Society around, I believe, issue number 8. And Earth 2 obviously has had some tremendously good stories over the years. But there had come a point where, even though the stories were good, they were becoming too apocalyptic. Everything was the end of the world. I think there was sort of a pattern of fatigue, because every Earth 2 story ended with something catastrophic happening. And there wasn't that sense of wonder and hope that we associate with Earth 2 and those characters. I was asked to come onto the book to almost kind of save the book. They had been put into such a state, essentially cast away on this imperfect world with very low resources, and everything was terrible.
Almost immediately, Abner and Jorge Jimenez began to steer the comic into a more exciting direction. Although the ongoing plots surrounding anarchy and the Civil War were all continued, the writers subtly teased a new threat that would eventually become the book's primary villain, the Ultra-Humanite. This storyline begins with Dick Grayson struggling to find his son, whom he was separated from before Earth's destruction. John is eventually revealed to be part of a group of missing children abducted by the Ultra-Humanite, who's amassing a brainwashed army to help him find Pandora's box and remake the world in his image. After the Wonders discover the villain's scheme, they race across the globe to locate the box before him. However, Ultra-Humanite brainwashes Green Lantern, forcing Fury to open Pandora's box herself and reset reality. The world fades white and the heroes subsequently find themselves in a retro-futuristic society, which we later learn is run by a totalitarian regime led by the Ultra-Humanite, who arrived earlier in time and took control of this world. After disguising themselves as civilians, the Wonders are found by Captain Steel, who leads leads an underground resistance against the villain and his army of Sandmen. This builds to a showdown between the two groups, where Batman is paralysed by the Ultra-Humanites and Alan escapes his brainwashing and kills the villain. With this threat vanquished, the Wonders find themselves in a stable world now in need of leadership. As a result, they collectively choose not to use Pandora's box again to try and restore the failing society they came from, and instead embrace their role as this Earth's new protectors. The closing moments of Earth 2 Society issue 22 showcase the Wonders embracing their roles within this new world, with Huntress carrying on her father's legacy becoming Batman, Val-Zod adopting a Clark Kent-like civilian persona, and Dick Grayson leading the heroes as their strategist, now adopting the codename of Oracle. The final page of this series sees the heroes all united, as they officially rename themselves from the Wonders of the World to the Justice Society of America, pledging to turn this new home into a place of hope and prosperity. Dan Abnett's run on Earth 2 Society serves as the final instalment in the New 52 Earth 2 saga, and in my opinion is a shockingly great ending to what was often an up and down series. While the Earth 2 comics often ranged in quality, going from the highs of James Robinson's initial run to the lows of Convergence, it was under Abnett that the series seemed to finally click and find its identity. The final 10 issues or so, which follow the Wonders battling the Ultra-Humanites and the creation of the brand new Earth 2, are genuinely some of the best comics to come out of this era of DC, and I do think it's a slight shame that we never got a follow-up to this series, one that could follow the Wonders as they officially become the new Justice Society and fully accept their roles as this world's new protectors. However, while rumours state that DC may have at one point considered launching a Justice Society Rebirth title with Dan Abnett as writer, this comic never materialised, and instead DC would make a sweeping change to their continuity yet again in 2016. In July 2016, DC released a special one-shot comic titled Rebirth. Written by Jeff Johns, this 80-page special reintroduced several pre-Flashpoint concepts back into DC's continuity, and established that the world of the New 52 had several years erased by an unseen threat. The events of Rebirth subsequently soft rebooted the continuity, leading to not only the return of Wally West and the merging of the post-crisis Superman and the now-deceased New 52 version, but the complete restoration of the classic JSA as an earlier generation of superheroes. According to Johns, the removal of these Golden Age characters and their place within the history of superheroes in the DC universe was a fundamental flaw in the New 52's reboot, and this was something he directly sought to address when helming Rebirth. As he told Popverse in 2024,
"The heart of the DCU that was missing at the time was legacy, because the legacies had been erased. The JSA didn't exist. There were a lot of relationships that no longer existed. It was an emotional void that I think a lot of people felt, and in some cases, readers had their proverbial umbilical cord cut with the New 52, and they felt it still and felt it even more."
With Rebirth restoring the more traditional JSA, the modernised counterparts from Earth 2 were no longer needed. Abnett's swan song serves as a fitting send-off to these imperfect but fondly remembered characters, giving them an emotional farewell and leaving their stories open-ended, finally at peace in a world that needs them. Although DC Comics has rarely returned to this Earth 2 in years since, some prominent characters from it have made appearances in other comics. For example, Val-Zod has appeared in several issues of Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason's run on Superman, especially during their Multiplicity storyline, and more recently, he and Red Tornado were featured in the one-shot Titans Beast World Waller Rising. Likewise, the Earth 2 Jay Garrick cameos in Flash number 761, aiding the Flash family in a multiversal battle against the Legion of Zoom. And finally, the Earth 2 Supergirl returned to the prime reality following the conclusion of Society, once again becoming Power Girl with her team-up series with Harley Quinn, making several references to her time on Earth 2. When looking back at the history of Earth 2 when making this video, it's hard for me to look at it as anything other than a story of unfulfilled potential and missed opportunities. I was a big fan of this series when it started in the summer of 2012. I remember reading all of the James Robinson Morrison and Tom Taylor penned issues when they first came out, and staying a fan of the series all the way up to Convergence. I think I may have dropped off by the time that Earth 2 Society launched though, and because of that, reading it now became such a pleasant experience, and I do think that Dan Abnett's work in particular is a real high point for this series and a great encapsulation of the potential that this rebooted Earth 2 had had from the beginning. In the end though, it seemed inevitable that DC would return the JSA to their more familiar incarnation, restoring the lineage of the classic team and ushering in a new era of stories. And while I have greatly enjoyed some of these post-Rebirth comics, namely Tim Sheridan's Alan Scott series and the current JSA book by Jeff Lemire, I do think it's a shame that the Earth 2 experiment was so quickly forgotten about. In a way, it felt like DC attempting some form of an ultimate universe, taking a group of their most recognisable characters and modernising them in a way that felt distinct and fresh. And so, while this version of Earth 2 may not be revisited in the future, or as well regarded as their traditional counterparts, I do believe that this period of comics was a truly fun time to be a reader, witnessing one of DC's most ambitious reinventions that not only shook up the status quo of some of their oldest characters, but helped update them for a whole new generation. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to leave a like on this video and leave a comment down below as well. Let me know your thoughts on everything we talked about in today's video. I can't wait to hear what you have to say as always. If you're new to Owen Likes Comics, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notify bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you enjoyed this and you want some more, there should be some other videos on screen right now that you might also enjoy. If you want to help support the channel and help me make more videos, you can do so by going over to patreon.com/OwenLikesComics. Or if you just want some more of me, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram and Blue Sky, just at Owen Likes Comics. But that's all for this video. Again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will see you next time. But until then, take care and keep reading.